ranging from the corrupt leaders we all have, the deteriorating economy, the hardship, the killing, the sentiment, the placing of priority of outsiders over the indigenous people of Africa. A lot has been ravaging and going on in Africa. But then there is an awareness, there's an awakening happening currently because the youth are beginning to get aware, the youth are beginning to come out of their shackles and wanting to change the narratives. The people are beginning to get informed. The people don't want to live under the shackles anymore. People want a definite change, a change that is remarkable, a change that is tremendous, a change that is noticeable. And this is the movement that is ravaging in several countries in Africa. So let's take a look at this.
Africa is a future frontier because Africa is the youngest continent in the world. Did you know that close to 70% of Africa's 1 billion plus population is under the age of 25? You see, for we African youth, we are so optimistic about Africa's future because in 2050, Africa will be ours to run. In 2050, we will be the face of a new Africa, educated, aspirational, and actively working towards creating the Africa that we want. Now, this isn't just wishful thinking. The African youth I'm talking about are already putting in the work to create this future. And they're doing so by focusing on two key themes. The first one is entrepreneurship. With Africa's population expected to reach 2.4 billion by 2050, we need to create employment opportunities for all of its young people, or else Africa won't be able to prosper. One way to do this is to create new businesses. African youth must therefore be entrepreneurial, but must be so in a way that is inclusive and generates both social and economic prosperity. Fortunately, there are African youth that have heard this call and are creating businesses to empower themselves and the continent. The entrepreneurs driving startup booms in Johannesburg, Lagos, and Nairobi are just as young. And the thousands of businesses they're creating are already changing lives across the continent. But positive change won't just happen automatically within Africa. It requires Africa to unleash the talent for innovation across its entire growing population. This all depends upon if African youth are given the opportunity to thrive.
1.3 billion people. That's the amount of people who would live in cities across Africa over the next 30 years. That's a growth of almost a billion people compared to today's figures. Just to put that into perspective, imagine combining the population of all of Europe and that of America and adding that to Africa's existing urban population. That's the scale of growth that Africa is set to experience over the next 30 years. You see, African cities are growing at over double the global average, while urbanization is slowing in other regions. By the end of this century, 13 of the top 20 megacities in the world are going to be in Africa. And as you can see from these figures, those numbers are pretty high. These are just some figures for some cities in Africa, their population for 2100. But this isn't even the best part. The best part is that 2/3 of our cities are yet to be built. And this growth isn't going to be clustered in one country. It's happening across the entire region. So if Africa is experiencing rapid transformation, or is going to experience rapid transformation over the coming decades, and truth be told, that transformation is already happening, why then is the dominant narrative around Africa focused on insecurity, aid, and poverty? I think it's time for us to change that narrative and focus instead on this: young entrepreneurs who are going to and are already building Africa's future. Young entrepreneurs are building tech and tech-enabled solutions to address everyday challenges that urban residents face. Africa's young entrepreneurs are going to build that future, but now is the time to give them all the support that they need.
So, with this, it is very glaring and clear that there is hope for the continent of Africa. There is hope for the people of Africa, and there is hope that things will become better and things will begin to change for the good of the indigenous citizens and settlers of Africa.